Hello everyone and welcome to the first video of the series on how to build structures that generate circular references in project finance. Before we get started, let's see what we have in the start version of the Excel file that we're going to be using throughout this course. So the file has 3 sheets. The first one is just a cover page where we have some basic information for you. Then we have the start sheet, which contains only the timeline that we're going to be using throughout the course. And lastly, we have the constant page, where I already add some constant numbers in here with named cells that are going to be able to use throughout the course. I don't think I'm going to be using much of the named cells that I already input in here. The reason why I decided to have it in here is every time I start doing my financial models, I always have the timeline and the constant sheet in place, because no matter what, I'm going to end up using them. So let's going to go back to our start sheet. And the first thing you're going to do, we're going to copy this sheet by pressing Ctrl and dragging your mouse to the right. So you hold on your left button in the mouse and drag it. And you're going to have a copy of your sheet. And the reason why you're going to do it is because you always want to have a clean version of the timeline so that you can use across several other sheets, which is going to be the case for this course. We're going to go back here. We're going to rename it to IDC. I'm going to also change the name in here. So it's going to be interest doing construction. And I'm going to also have the IDC in here. And I'm going to set this up as a H1. So now we can start doing the interest doing construction structure. But what is it? What is interest doing construction? There's not much you can say in here, right? Because the name itself is explanatory. It is the interest that the project is going to accrue during the construction phase. Let's going to look what our construction phase looks like. As you can see, the construction phase is represented in row 4, and we're going to have 4 periods for the construction phase, in which each period represents a quarter or 3 months. And I'm going to start our project, our construction phase in 1st of January 2024, and I'm going to go all the way through the year until 31st of December. So the interest during construction needs to be calculated for this period, and that's what we're going to do. The most important thing is that the interest that you're going to accrue during the construction phase is not going to be paid back to the bank during that particular period. And this is the difference. This is the special thing about the interest during construction. The interest is going to be accrued and is going to become part of the total project cost. And this is where the circular reference is going to come up, because we're going to have to add the interest as part of the construction cost, and there's going to be a circular reference in there. Let's going to see now through a very simple exercise how the circular reference comes up when modeling the interest during construction. We're going to say that you want to buy a car, and this car is going to cost you $100,000. Pretty nice car. And you want to finance it. You want to finance 100% of this car. So you go to the bank and ask for the finance, and the bank tells you that's no problem, but you got to pay a fee on the total cost of the finance you're going to get, which is going to be 1% of the total financing cost. So let me just format here. That's what we're going to have. So you calculate the fee by multiplying the 1% times the cost of the car, and you add everything together. In Excel, you're just going to press Alt equals and enter. So the total cost now that you have to come up with, it's $101,000. And since you want to finance the whole thing, what you have to finance now, it's not $100,000, but the $101,000. So you have to recalculate your fee by multiplying the 1% times the $101,000. And that's what you're doing here. And once you do it and press enter, the circular reference comes up. That's exactly what happens when you're doing the IDC. Why this is happening? Now, the fee is going to be based on the total cost of the car plus the fee itself. And the total cost depends on the fee. So that's where the circular reference comes up, as you can see on the arrows in here. And this is the same for the interest during construction. But instead of having a fee, we're going to have the interest. Or even if you have a fee that has to be paid based on the percentage of the debt taken, you will also have a circular reference coming up. That's it. Through this very simple exercise, you can see how the circular reference comes up when modeling the interest during construction. Let's gonna get started now and see how it works. What do we need? We need first the investment or our capex. So let's gonna just name it investment. We're gonna have the interest during construction, and we're gonna have the total project cost. That's what we're gonna have it here. Everything is going to be in USD. I'm gonna type now, I'm gonna press Ctrl D all together just to copy whatever is above to the cell where I am. And that's what we're gonna have. Cool. Then we're gonna have our total investment. Okay, what is the capex that we need for this project? For this exercise, we're going to assume it's going to be $6 million. And I'm going to format here as a cell input and as a comma 0. Cool. So that's what we have in here. And now we need just to spread this cost throughout our construction phase. We're going to assume that we're going to need this capex in equal parts for each one of the construction phase. So let's going to model it in here. So we're going to say it's going to be equals to this number here, of course, is 6 million. I'm going to press F4 3 times to properly anchor it. So when I copy across, I'm going to still hold on to this column. And we're going to multiply it by what? We need to multiply, sorry, we're going to divide it by the number of periods we have in here. So we should divide it by 4. And the way we're going to calculate it is not by hard code the number 4 there, but by calculating how many periods we have during the construction phase. It's going to be equals to the sum of these values in here, of this range. I'm going to press F4 once so we can properly anchor it. And that's basically it. So I'm going to format and I'm going to copy and paste across, and one thing is going to show up. So we account for 1.5 million every single period of our project. And that's not what we want. What we need to do now, we need to properly anchor it one more time. So we need just to anchor it here to the construction flag, which we have. And now we're going to anchor it properly by pressing F4 twice. Cool. And now if copy and paste everything across, we have the 6 million that we just input here as a total capex for the project. And I'm going to just sum here. So we're going to add as a sum, and I'm going to save this style as a row totals in here. Cool. So we have already the first portion of the IDC. We need to, I'm going to press Ctrl D here and here. And now we have to calculate the IDC, but we're going to do this a bit later. Let me just now finalize here. We're going to say that the total project cost is going to be equals to the sum. And I just press Alt equals. I'm going to copy and paste everything across. And now I'm going to have a top border by pressing Alt, H, B, and P. So there we go. So we have the total border in here, and it's adding everything together. Cool. So we have this structure here that is going to calculate the total project cost. But now we need to calculate what's going to be our interest during construction. And to do it, we need to understand how much debt we're going to take for this project. What we need to understand is what is the debt to equity ratio. And this is going to be an assumption we're going to use in our model. And for this case, we're going to assume that we're going to have a 75% debt and a 25% equity. So what we're going to have here, we're going to give as an input our, where is the percent? We're going to give as an input our debt. And we're going to calculate the equity as being 100% minus 75, or 1 minus the number above, and that's going to be our debt to equity ratio. So it's 75% debt, 25% equity. Cool. So what is next now? So now we can calculate, I'm going to copy this structure here. We can calculate how much we can take for each one of them. So out of the 6 million without the IDC, 75% is going to be financed with debt and 25% as equity. So let's going to do it. So it's going to be equals to this number here. I'm going to press F4 3 times, multiplied by this number here, and I'm going to press F4 twice. I'm going to format it as a comma 0. I'm just going to do it here. I'm going to copy and paste everything across. And because we properly anchored everything, all the calculations are correct. And if you add those things together here, it's going to give the 6 million that we have above in there. So we know how much debt and how much equity we're going to have. What I need to calculate now is how much interest we're going to pay on this open debt that we have in here. So let's see how to do it. So I'm going to have here now a debt account. I'm going to Control U here just to have a underline in the text. We're going to have our open balance. Then we're going to have what? We're going to have our drawdowns, drawdown. Then we're going to have our close balance. So this is an account. We call it an account. We're going to keep track of how much is our open balance for the debt and how much is our closing balance, because we're going to draw down each one of the periods, and then we're going to keep adding that to our debt account. Cool. Here's going to be USD. So I think, yeah, we can do like this. We're going to select everything or the column by pressing Control Space, Alt 2, and it's going to be a unit format. So that's what we have in here. And now we can start calculating our debt account. So what we're going to have, so the first thing we're going to have is going to be that our open balance, our open balance is going to be equal to the closed balance of the previous period. I'm going to just make sure that we know that there's something by selecting this style, because we know we reference this cell in here. I'm going to format as (0). Then we're going to draw down. What are we drawing down? We're drawing down this value in here. So this is the equity that we're drawing down. And then when we add everything together, as we have here, we're going to add everything together by pressing Alt Space. Then I'm going to copy everything across. And as you can see here, we keep adding that until we reach the 4.5 million that we have over here. As you can see, we keep these numbers, but I'm just going to multiply this number here by the flag. I'm going to press F4 twice. Then I'm going to copy and paste across, because then we don't need to see anything after doing the operations phase, because the idea here is the following. Once we get to the end of the construction phase, we're going to transfer the closed balance of our debt to our operations phase so that we can start repaying our debt. We don't need to keep tracking the debt account during the construction phase into this structure in here. Okay? So that's what we have. Nice. So we know now what is our open and our closing balance. Because we know how much debt we have, we can already calculate the interest that we're going to have to pay. So this is going to be our interest during construction, or IDC. That's going to be an USD. So what do we need to know to calculate our interest? We need to know the interest rate. So we're going to say that we're going to pay a 10% interest rate. So let me just do again, 10% interest rate. So it's going to be the rate. So percent going to be a per annum here. Okay, so it's going to be our per annum. I'm going to have a table, and below here, we're going to have an input, and that's going to be in percent. There we go. So it's going to be 10% per annum. But remember, we have our periods and quarters. What we're going to do here, we're going to say that's our percent per period is going to be equals what? Alt ST. It's going to be equals to this number here divided by quarters per year, which is 4. That's going to be our rate. And I'm going to just do here, this is going to be our rate. So this is the number here. This is the interest rate for each one of the quarters. Very nice. So how do we calculate now our interest during construction? And this is a very important part of the interest during construction calculation. Everything depends on the assumption. Let's see what we have in here, this particular period in here. We have that on the 1st of January, during the open balance, we have not withdrawn anything from this debt. We have a 0 open balance. And on 31st of March 2024, we have 1.1 million that we have taken as a debt. So where do we calculate the interest? Do we calculate on the 0, or do we calculate on the 1.125 million? And the assumption for now, and that's very important, the assumption for now is that we're going to calculate the interest to be paid on the average of these two numbers. It's going to be on the average of whatever we had in the beginning and whatever we have on the end of the construction period. That's going to do it. And again, this is an assumption. That's only an assumption. That's going to say it's going to be equal to the average of this number here, comma, this number here, multiplied by this number here. And I'm going to press F4 3 times here. And we're going to copy and paste across, and we're going to save it as a comma 0. And also I want to copy this and have this number in here. This is the interest based on the assumption that we're going to consider that we're going to pay the interest as the average between the open and the closing balance. So this is going to be our assumption. Very nice. So basically, we have finished our structure now. But there's one more important thing which we just mentioned at the beginning of this video, is that we have to add the interest during construction to our total project cost, because we're not going to pay or repay the bank this value here during the construction phase, because that doesn't make sense. So the project's a project, we're doing a project finance structure where all the project costs is going to be repaid back to lenders with the project's cash flow. So what we're going to do here, we're going to have to add this number here. I'm going to say, sorry, this is going to be equals to this number here. I'm going to press enter. And of course, here the circular reference pops in. So I'm going to copy and paste everything across, and we still have the circular reference. So let's see what we have in here. Let's going to start from here. So we have that the sum of this number here goes in here. This number here goes in here. This number here goes in here. That goes in here. That goes in here. That goes back in here. And the circular reference goes no, and Excel, as it is right now, cannot solve it. Let's see how we can start managing the circular reference. And there are a few ways we can do it. The first way, the one that should avoid at all costs, is using the automatically iteration process that Excel offers for us. So if you press Alt, F, and T, or if you just go to File and Options, and you click on Formulas, you can see that in this box here, we have Enable Iterative Calculation. And if I click here, we're going to see that Excel is going to calculate everything automatically for us, and it's going to give us the correct number because it iterated over in order to calculate the circular reference that pops up. But this should be avoided, and in project finance should never ever use this tool. The reason is very simple. As your model grows, it gets very annoying to work with it, because for every single thing you do in Excel, if you change a number here, everything's going to be recalculated over and over again. And when your model is big, like over 1,000 rows, like 10 different sheets, these get very slow and it's get very hard to work with the Excel file. So you should never ever use it. Now it looks fine, it looks easy to work because you just have these calculations in here. But once your model grows, it gets very annoying. It can take up to a second for everything to be recalculated. So we're going to go back there. We're going to press Alt FT again. And we're going to go to Formulas and we're going to untick and leave the way it is. And there we go. And now again, we have the circular reference. And the thing is now everything is correctly calculated because Excel calculated for us before. But I'm going to delete here. And I'm going to, let's leave the 10% here. That's it. Good. I just want to delete here and I just want to restart fresh because I don't want to have the right answers already to the calculation. So let me go back here, press OK. Cool. Now we're going to copy and paste everything across. Cool. So we don't have any calculations in here. What is the other way to fix it? There's another way that I usually use, but only when I'm doing some sort of short exercise and I'm in a rush. And how do you do it? We're going to come in here. We're going to say that's going to be the interest difference. I'm going to have it here. I just want to copy this structure in here. Alt EST. So we're going to paste the format. And the interest difference is going to be equal to the difference between this value here and this value here. That's it. Cool. And now I'm going to just format this to be a in-sheet calculation. We have here, and as you can see, nothing works because we still have the circular reference. We have to break it. What we're going to do, we're going to delete here. And now the difference is $225,000. And what we're going to do, we're going to select our interest during construction. I'm going to press Ctrl-C to copy it. We're going to go above here, and we're going to paste it as values, okay? And the way we're going to do it, we're going to press Alt-ES. So we can have the paste special window to pop up. We're going to press V, so Alt-ES V. As you can see here, we have values, and we're going to press OK. And once we press OK, the numbers were pasted in here, and you can see now the difference has been reduced to $5,800 only. And I keep pasting, or easier, or if you keep pressing F4, which is going to repeat the last command on Excel, we're going to see the difference is going to keep reducing in here. So I'm going to press F4 one more time. Now it's 100. One more time, it's 2. And I'm going to keep pressing here until I see a 0. That's what we have in here. So that's the way you can do it. So you have to copy and paste things across until the difference goes to 0. Now, the third way to do it, and that's the way you're going to be using your financial modeling, is to create a macro. Let's see how to do it right now. How to add the macro in Excel. So make sure first that you have the developers tab already in there. And the way you can do it is by pressing Alt F-T again. You click here on Customize Rainbow, and then just make sure the developer is already selected in here. So that's the way you're going to do it. Okay, I'm going to press Cancel because I already have it. I'm going to go to Developer and click on Visual Basic and open it. So that's what we have in here. We're in model 1 in here. Good. So how do we write the macro? So I'm going to go fast here. The purpose is not to teach you how to do Visual Basic in Excel, but just understand how it works. So what do we need to have here? You need to have a name for the macro. So I'm going to call it IDC macro. Nothing special here. And as you can see, it created the end of the sub for me. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to do until range, have a range. We're going to have this now equals to 0. We have to do a few things before we write our macro. We have to give names to our cells in here, okay? The first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to come over here. I'm going to select the interest during construction. And I'm going to name this by pressing Alt F3 or by just clicking in here. We're going to name it interest copy. Okay, so we're going to copy this and we're going to paste it here. So that's exactly what we need. So we're going to paste this here. So we're going to paste this. We're going to be interest paste. That's going to be the name of our range that we need to paste. And what I'm going to have here, we're going to have this as, this name is as interest difference. So that's what we're going to have here. So what we're going to do, we're going to go back here to our marks, do until what? The range interest difference, until you're going to keep looping. So this is going to open a looping, and until the range interest difference, until this value here goes to 0, the VBA is going to keep looping. And how this is going to be done now? We have to say the following, that this, I want that this value here, or this range here, so let me select here. So this range here, the interest paste should be always equals to the interest cop. So we're going to copy the values in this range here into here. That's what we're going to do. So we're going to say the following, the range of what? Interest paste. So we're going to close here, should be dot value. So we have to have the dot value should be equals to the range of what? The range, open here, interest copy. So that's what it should look like. Close dot value. And one thing that I should be dot value. And one thing I have to do, I have to add here the quotation marks too. And that's very easy. There's nothing more you need to do. And I think just have to add a loop here, a loop. I think that's it. So what are you doing here? Just let's going to go through it again. So we're going to loop as long as the range, or until the range interest difference, which is this value here, is equals to 0. And then what we're going to do, we're going to get the interest cop range, which is this range here. And we're going to make it to be equals to this range here. So that's what we're going to do to be doing now. Let me just going to reduce here. I'm going to delete here. Let's see if this is working. So we're going to just bring this one in here. We're going to run our macro and see if that works. So the way you're going to run it, I'm going to just press in here and just select, put the mouse in here, and you're going to press F5 or just click in here. There's a problem now. Let's see what that is. There might be an error with the names. So let's see. This is the interest copy. I'm going to copy and paste here. Let me see here. I think I misspelled. Yes, I misspelled here, so I have to fix it. I'm going to click in formulas, and I will just correct here. So Let me just go here. So the interest cop, that's going to edit here. And there is the interest here. Cool. I think now we should be able to make it work. So let's see, let's going to look at the numbers in here. If everything is going to change here, it's going to press space. Yes. And that's it. So let me just delete so you can see exactly what has been done. Let me just going to make it smaller here. And as you can see, we're going to have the numbers being pasted in here and the difference is going to reduce. So we're going to press F5 and everything worked. Another way to do it, I'm going to make it step by step on the Excel, on the macro. So I'm going to press F8. So in F8, I'm going to step each way through. And as you can see, it's already finished. Cool. So we finished. That's how the macro works. But there's one more thing we can do here. Now what we're going to do, we're going to add a button here that we can use to run the macro faster. Let me just do one thing here. We're going to, I think it's on search. We're going to insert a shape. We're going to put a shape in here. I'm going to name this run macro. Cool. So we're going to run this macro here. I just want to format the shaping. So we're going to have a, just go here. Sorry, we're going to go here. We're going to bold. We're going to make it a bit bigger. And we're just going to center it. Cool. Now the way to assign a macro here, just click right click, assign a macro and IDC macro. Cool. So now that we have here, I'm going to delete this again. And if you just press here, the macro is going to run. So that's pretty easy. And that's the way you should have in your financial model, okay? Always have some sort of shape that you can click, assign the macro is going to run. And what I'm going to do here, I'm going to just set this as a macro so you can see that this is running a macro and understand why this is orange. There's a way that you can get rid of the circular reference by changing the assumption of the interest during construction. And this is why it was important to highlight that in the beginning of the video. So I'm going to do now, I'm going to get rid of the interest during construction circular reference by copying. I'm going to select this thing. I'm going to copy everything here. And I'm going to just paste it over here. I just want to make sure that it didn't copy. Yeah, so that's everything's correctly here. I was just checking whether the name was copied and it was not. And I'm going to rename here. So it's going to be the IDC with circular reference. And here's going to be the IDC without circular reference. I'm going to scroll down here. Let's see how we're going to go about this. First thing, I just want to make sure we have everything correctly, that we are calculating everything properly, because when you copy and paste things across, we might have things wrong. For example, here it's wrong. I should reference to this cell in here. So I'm going to copy and paste across. Let me see what we have here. The same here. So I can just Control D here and copy and paste across. That's fine. So now I just want to check here if everything is correctly. Yeah, everything is correctly. And then, yes, this is the average, but I'm going to change the assumption in here. Remember, so here we use the average. And the assumption that I'm going to make it now is that we are going to pay the interest during construction based only on the open balance of the debt account. We're going to calculate the interest during construction based on the open balance. What we're going to have here, we're going to have that this number here is going to be equals this. Press F4 twice times this. And I'm going to press F4 3 times in here. 1, 2, 3. Let me do it again. Going to be equals to this. I'm going to press F4 twice times this. Press F4 3 times. There we go. Copy and paste across. And here we have the calculations. And what we have to do now, we have to come over here and say that this number here is equals to this one here. And then you copy and paste everything across. And as you can see, we were able to calculate the interest during construction without any circular reference to be added to this structure. And so what is that? What's going on here? That's going to redo all the calculations. So this number here equals to this one here, which goes over here now, which goes over here, which goes over here. We're back here. That goes in here and then goes in here. And this number goes nowhere. So that's why there's no circular reference now, which differs from when you had the calculation done based on the average, because that we had for sure always a circular reference. But here we don't have. That's the first thing. That's how you can break the circular reference when you calculate the interest during construction. But one thing to notice in here is that the total interest paid or accrued during the construction phase for the case where you have no circular reference is $107,000. And for the case where you have it, it's $230,000. That's the difference. You're going to pay more interest when you calculate this in this way here. But usually that's the way you're going to go about it. Banks do accept this way to calculate it. So you can choose either way to do it. And most often, I do go with the IDC with no circular reference. Before I finish, there are a few things that I would like to do. So the first one, I'd like to give better subheading names for some of the sections we have inside the exercise. So for instance, in here, we're going to call this the use of funds. And I'm going to give this a head number of 2. So this is quite common practice to have. So we have the use of funds, and then here we're going to have the source of funds. So you can come here and say source of funds in here, because that's what they are. So here is how we're going to use your funds. We're going to have the investments, we're going to have the IDC, and we're going to have the total project costs. And then we're going to have where the funds are coming from. So what are the source of your funds? In this case, here's going to be debt and equity. And here I can also do the same. I can have this set as a debt account. Then I'm going to have everything in here. We can get rid of this one here. We can get this one more. That's fine. We have 2, so we can get rid of this one in here. And then we can also delete this one in here. That's it. So now I can also copy this and duplicate it in here. So I'm gonna add this one in here. We can add this one in here. And we can just copy over this one in here. Also getting rid of this. And get rid of these 2 in here. Cool. So that's basically what we can do. And just for the exercise to be a bit cleaner, I'm gonna copy this section here to another sheet. And because I want to also have the timeline in there, the easier way to do it, or the easiest way to do it, is by copying this sheet in here. And I'm gonna press Ctrl, we're gonna drag with our left mouse button clicked to the right, and I'm gonna create a new sheet. The only thing we need to do now is just to delete this one in here. That's it. And then I'm going to rename it to IDC2. Right, so this is going to be the IDC2. And this one here is going to be the IDC1. And we can just get rid of this. And if I press Alt 3, everything's deleted in my case. So now I have 2 sheets with the 2 different exercises. Just for being completely similar, we can have this one like this. So I'm just going to delete this one in here, so everything gets completely symmetrical. Nice. Let's go do a recap. What did you learn today? In today's video, we learned what or how to build an interest during construction structure and why the circular reference shows up. And if you recall, the interest during construction, we have to account for the interest to be part of the total project costs. And this is what may generate the circular reference. Why is that? Because everything depends on the assumption that you're going to use to calculate your interest during construction. In this case here, where we do have the circular reference, the assumption is that the interest that you're going to pay in each one of the periods, it is the average of the open and closing balance. And this is what generates the circular reference. In the second example, we assume that the interest is going to be calculated only based on the open balance of the debt. And this does not generate the circular reference. The last thing that we learned is how to manage the circular reference. And there are a few ways we can do it. We learned how to do the copy and paste, as we're doing here right now. So you can copy and paste, Alt ESV. I'm going to paste in here, or you can do the macro. And in the macro, we did a very simple macro where we're going to loop through a number until it gets to 0. In this case here, the interest difference is this cell here, which we gave a name to it, interest difference, while this cell here does not reach 0. We're going to keep copying what? We're going to keep copying the interest copy, which is this range here. We have right here. as you can see the name here. And we're going to paste it. We're going to make it be equals to the interest paste, as you can see here in the range, which is this range in here as we go. That's it for today, folks. In the next video, we're going to learn how to do the debt sculpting structure and how to manage the circular reference that comes up in there. I hope to see you the next one. And again, subscribe to the channel and give me a thumbs up if you learned anything from today's video. Let's go for the next one.